Hey, what's going on, welders? So when it comes to MIG, we have to decide whether we're gonna be pushing the gun or pulling the gun. If we're welding flat, horizontal, or overhead welds, the whole point of either one is to establish a good line of sight. So in this video, I'm gonna show you guys which one I pick and how that technique helps me get straighter welds, more consistent welds. So let's get into it. Three different techniques that I use: the sideways zigzags, circles, and step pause are techniques that help me with my overlapping welds and to stay more consistent. When using these techniques, there is certain things that we have to be looking for, paying attention to, and watching out for. For example, where am I aiming that wire at whenever I go to my top plate, bottom plate, top plate, bottom plate? You want to stay consistent wherever you point that wire at. We always want to use the edges of our weld. In this example, I'm drawing up to the center of the weld and then going past that bottom edge, but always trying to maintain that edge in the center of my puddle for whichever technique that I'm using, whether it's this up and down, circle technique. I'm going to the same spots every time above that top edge and the center of my weld. I can transition if I need to from different techniques to another, but I always want to maintain those same aiming points and using that bottom edge or top edge to stay in the center of my puddle. When it comes to overlapping, you have to know what technique you're going to start with from that first weld. If you need to change up your techniques, do so, but at the end of it, you want your legs to be the same length on both top and bottom. Using the circle technique, I want to use that edge where both of my plates meet as a guideline. If I'm using the circle technique, I want to keep it in the center of my puddle. I can easily transition from either technique, circles, sideways zigzags, or move in either direction. At the end of it, I want to be able to keep that edge as a guideline and maintain that edge in the center of my puddle. This would be the pull method view.
Good.
This would be the push method view. Now that we have our first weld established, we're going to use the edges of that weld to keep us straight. So right here, I'm using the center of the weld and the bottom edge of that weld as guidelines. I'm going to point my wire to the center of the weld and then go past that bottom edge with my wire using a circle technique, sideways zigzag, as long as I maintain that bottom edge in the center of my puddle. You always want to stay a step ahead by having an aiming point. So always have an aiming point so that way you know exactly where you're going to be aiming that wire at. Always using those edges as a guideline. On this third pass, a lot of people have trouble with underfill because after that second pass, we end up creating a valley. So with whichever technique we're using, we have to slow down that technique to fill up that valley and pay closer attention to our puddle. So once we see that top of that puddle hit that top plate and the bottom of our puddle hit the top edge of our bottom weld, we know that that valley's filled up, and that's what gives us our speed. In most welds, you're going to find that you're going to have to transition from one technique to another to properly overlap those welds or fill up those valleys. But at the end, you have to learn to read that puddle so that we can better control our speed. Using the pull method does give you deeper penetration and a stronger weld overall. But visibility wise, the nozzle does get in the way of our line of sight. So we have to use that contact to work distance to our advantage so we can look through the wire as we're doing our techniques. This is a great example of looking through the wire and using your contact to work distance, which you have about an inch to pull that gun back, that nozzle back,
and look through that wire so you can keep an eye on that edge. Using the push technique, you do get less penetration. It's still a strong weld, but it is the weaker of the two. Now, visibility wise, you do get a lot more visibility of the wire and overall much better control of your technique. So if I had to pick one, I would pick the push method because the push method gives me a better line of sight. I can see my puddle a lot clearer. I can manipulate my puddle a lot better. I can control my technique a lot better. I can have a closer contact to work distance, which allows me to shield my weld a lot better. Versus using the pull method, now I really have to use that contact to work distance, pull that nozzle back about an inch or so I can look through that wire so I can keep my weld straight and consistent. But now I have to keep in mind, if I pull it away too far, I'm going to lose that gas coverage, which could result in porosity, or that wire losing its connection to the workpiece, which is going to cause that wire to start kicking back at you and spattering a lot more. Shout out to Arc Master Frank, who helped me get this incredible arc shots. If you haven't checked out his channel, check him out. Iron sharpening iron. Hope y'all got something out of this, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let me know what you guys prefer to use, push method, pull method. Let me know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Your comments actually help me better understand which I want to see next. For example, if y'all want to see how to hold the MIG gun, to angle the MIG gun for certain positions, I have a few videos on that. But specifics, questions like that you guys want to ask, I look at the comments all the time. I appreciate your comments, your support. Enjoy the rest of the arc shots, and I hope you guys get a better understanding of the push view versus the pull view. Let me know which one works better for you. Till next time, God bless. Let it shine, baby.